Now, from after technical and vocational education, we move to special education. So, what is special education? Special education is the education of children with disabilities, and these disabilities can be of various forms. So, visual disabilities or movement disabilities or mental disabilities, all these different types of disabilities are part of the special education. So, education of these children is part of the international discourse now. But in many ways, they are still excluded from this basic necessity. Pakistan is also moving toward, including these special people in the education and in other areas, but a lot has to be done. So what are the recent developments? So there is a recent increase in international pressure in the last 2 or 3 decades. So there was this World Program of Action concerning disabled persons from 1983 to 1992. Then there was the Asia and Pacific Decade of Disabled Persons from 2003 to 2012, and it had its Vivaco Millennium Framework of Action. And lastly, there was this United Nations Conventions of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2008, which Pakistan has ratified. So all these, different international conventions and different international promises and agreements have focused attention on these special people. Then, of course, the interest in special persons has also increased as a spillover effect of the increased focus on education. So everybody is trying to increase the literacy rate and trying to bring children who are out of the school into school. So if we look at Pakistan, girls are the biggest group which is outside school and which has to be brought in. Rural children are also need to be brought in. But then after these two groups, then we have this disabled or special children that those who had to be brought in the schools and educated. Then there is also change in thinking in the communities and the parents of the children. Previously, parents of special children thought that these children don't have to go out; they have to remain in their home. They don't need to be self-employed or employed. They don't need to be educated. But this thinking has now changed. Then there is the changing discourses around disability at the national level. So there are many NGOs who are working for the disabled people, whether they're working for visually impaired persons or people who need wheelchairs, movement disabilities, or other types of disabilities. Then media is also focusing on special people. And we recently saw in the last Special Olympics that Pakistani special children won many medals. In fact, more medals than the regular athletes win in the regular Olympics. So these kind of news increase interest in these special people and show us to the public and to their parents and to the government that these people can do good work, they can be employed, and they need not be excluded from the regular society. So the stigma is there against these people, but there is a positive focus too. So what about the national policies addressing special education? So Pakistani government education policies, talk a little bit about special education, but not much. So the JICA report in 2002 about special education says persons with disabilities are mostly unseen, unheard, and unaccounted persons in Pakistan. It was historically the religious institutions who have tried to provide education to these institutions. The 1980s was a big change because, as I talked earlier, because of General Zia, whose own daughter was disabled in many ways. So there were this larger budgets for special education. There was this 200 special education institutions and the formation of Directorate General of Special Education. In 2009, the National Education Policy aims talked a little bit about the handicapped children, but the major initiative was the 2002 National Policy for Persons with Disability. But this document was more aspirational, not very grounded. There were lots of big promises which even those who were making those promises at that time knew will not be fulfilled. So what is the current status? So there's gradually an increase in enrollment. Of course, they are still likely not to be enrolled. For example, a 2010 survey in Punjab KP says that they are less likely to include these special children, and special girls face double discrimination. Mostly these parents send these people to become hafiz so that they become social, they can improve their social status and get some employment. Teachers are not ready and don't know how to interact with these people. The future is that we have to provide them quality education and employment, and of course we have to pay more or fund more of these institutions so that special education or special children can be educated.